When it comes to having the ability to be financial free and having zero debt, having that debt-free life, getting the poster that is up here in the corner of the office means that you have eliminated all of your debt. We're talking student loans, we're talking credit cards, we're talking car loans, medical debt, even looking at the mortgage. When you are debt-free, it is 100% everything is paid off in its entirety, and it is really a lifestyle change for a lot of different people. Now, if you've been like a majority of Americans that have seen and had a ton of debt, me personally, I had student loans, I had car loans, I had credit card debt, I had medical debt, I had a mortgage, and have a mortgage right now, which we're slowly paying off to be completely debt free. It can be very taxing when you look at that bill of what you're paying every month in interest, when you put it in comparison to how many hours you have to work at a job to pay just the interest that you're covering in there. That is the reason why debt free and why I want to be completely debt free is not only the fact that it is really life changing, not owning all of your own things, but not having to pay someone on a monthly basis, giving me a lot more money to go ahead and invest and do what I want to with versus it getting all eaten up from interest. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at some strategies to get you to that debt free. And it is really a lifestyle change, meaning you're not relying on credit cards, you're not relying on payday loans, you're not relying on anything that is going to be borrowing debt. Because the worst thing I think would happen is if you finally get debt free, you've been driving for it for so long, but once you get debt free, it is the ability to stay debt free, meaning that you're not going to go right back to borrowing, right back to, lending. Now, there are a few caveats with this, which again, we're going to talk about in this video. Number one being figuring out what debt free means to you. Now, there has to be honestly an emotional tie to this or driving force behind why you want to be debt free. It's not just something you watched on a YouTube video, thought it was pretty cool, and went ahead and moved forward with it. There is a part of you that really knows why you want to be debt free and the logic behind it. Me personally, having more of my income to keep, again, is going to allow me to invest a lot more, set my kids up for an education, and also be able to take trips, go on vacations with what we're not paying in interest. I mean, for a majority of people, you're paying $400, $500, $600 per month in interest. That's an incredible amount of money that could, again, be used for a lot of better things in your life. Now, there are a couple downsides with this, guys, is when you become debt-free, you can become credit invisible. Now, this is actually one of the things that I had to do a lot of research on because I wanted to know exactly what it meant. So if you have no form of credit, it could make it more difficult if you do need credit. But a lot of things, when you look at insurance carriers do base your pricing on your credit score. So if you don't have a credit score any longer, and if you do pay off everything in its entirety, there's going to be a certain time where you are no longer going to have a credit score, meaning that it is not calculated for anything. So if you need a credit card, if you need a loan, if you really want to rent a home, if you're looking to get a cell phone, a majority of places, even looking to get a new job, will run your credit report with no results or no score, meaning that you have no history that has been accumulated, because after time it will be wiped out. Now, in addition, being debt-free gets you to a certain point. Staying debt-free is the hurdle that a lot of people have to get to. This is really funneling money towards, different things that used to be the debt. And like I said, when you look at some investment strategies like the VOO or the S&P 500, really putting a conservative amount in there, having a really well-funded, fully funded emergency plan, but also having the ability to utilize investment strategies with the money that you have that you're not paying in debt. And from there, taking the money that you need to purchase things. So let's say, for instance, you need a new vehicle, you have $150,000 in your investment account. Majority of people will just pay for it cash because they have the cash. A lot of people will want to finance it, but again, you're going right back in debt, guys, and that is not what we want, just the reliance of going back to debt. But a lot of people say, well, my investment account will make a lot more money, then I'm going to have to pay for my auto loan. It's not about what it is about getting more from one account versus another account. It is about the debt-free and the debt-free journey, always remembering exactly why you want it to be debt-free and how you're going to keep it debt-free. Second part of the strategy, guys, is knowing exactly to the penny how much debt you owe. This is a wake-up call for a lot of individuals, which means listing out credit cards, personal loans, any tax liens, judgments, medical, payday advances, collections, any account you have, period, you want to list out and make sure you know exactly how much for dollar that you're going to have to come out with or come up with to be completely debt-free. and also coming up with a plan exactly how long it's going to take you to get completely debt free. So once we know exactly how much debt we have, we know exactly how much income we have, then we look at our methodology behind it and how are we going to pay this off. You can use the debt snowball method, you can use the avalanche method, you could do a debt consolidation, you could do a debt relief. Now, of course, with this, there are some pros and cons which we'll run through. Number one, the snowball method. This is kind of prioritizing off paying off the lowest balance first. So if I have 5 cards and my absolute lowest balance is, let's say, $500, that is going to be the one that I'm sending all of my extra money to, making minimum payments on everything else, but consolidating and paying off that $500 first. Psychologically, this makes the most sense because it's going to be very quick to eliminate some of the lower debts, especially if you are really focused on this. But the second one is the debt avalanche, which actually ranks them from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate, and focusing every penny on the highest interest rate, regardless of the balance. This, of course, is going to give you the most bang for your buck because every dollar that you're putting on that highest interest rate is saving you that much when it comes to the highest interest rate. The next one we look at is the debt consolidation. Of course, you could take all of your debt, roll it into one payment. If you keep the debt into one payment, and getting a much, much lower rate can actually amplify the ability to pay off the debt in a very short amount of time, where it might take you, 3 to 5 years to pay it off. You could debt consolidate everything to a much lower interest rate, get it wrapped up in 2 years. But there are, again, a couple of catches to this. Number one being you don't want to take it out for an extended amount of time. Try to keep the payment roughly where you're at or higher than you're currently paying. If you're doing the debt consolidation, some people will take it out 3, 4, 5 years with the debt consolidation, which really just drags out the payment, freeing up some of their income, but in turn, dragging out the payment and dragging out the interest for that loan. In addition, a lot of people do the consolidation loans. And what we find usually after 12 or 24 months, they're right back to borrowing, guys. There's balances on those credit cards again. So now not only do they have the consolidation loan on one side, but they also have new credit card debt that they've accumulated. And the final one, guys, is the debt relief. This is kind of the last part where it is very, very hard or near impossible or impossible that you can pay your bills at all. This is looking at debt management companies, possibly bankruptcy, debt settlement companies, different ways that you can prioritize when you don't have the income in relationship to your debt. When we're talking probably 50% of your gross income is literally already spoken for from the debt that you do carry. So this is kind of the you've explored every single option and went down every single path. There's no other option than getting into that bankruptcy status. Number 4, we get into finding a budget that works for you. Now, there's a ton of methodology when it comes behind budgeting. What you could look at zero-based budgeting, the 50-30-20 rule, the envelope system, the cash budgeting method. There's even a lot of applications. My opinion, guys, try out a couple different ones. Again, look kind of at the budgeting systems and the methodology behind them. Overall, personally, I do the zero-based budgeting. It is something that I started years ago that I absolutely love, guys. So that is taking your income minus all of your expenses and taking it to zero. So what I do to accommodate that or getting to the zero-based budgeting is there are certain buckets that I kind of maneuver, one of them being the investment. So if I have more money towards my zero-based budgeting, I will actually increase contributions to my HSA. I will increase contributions to my 401k. I'm putting money into an IRA, even putting money into a brokerage account that will cover and balance out that budget to the zero budget. And if I know there are some expenses coming up in the future, I plan for them, I do budget for them. So I will put in another line item again to hit that zero-based budgeting, making sure that I do have enough in there to cover what else is coming up. So that way I have no unexpected surprises when it comes to the budget. 50-30-20 rule, of course, breaks your needs, your wants, and then your savings or your debt repayment. 50% goes to your needs. A lot of people cannot stay within that 50%, which you really have to realistically take a look at your housing situation, take a look at your auto loan situation, all of the regular bills that fall into that need category, and seeing in that want category what you can kind of slim down and really cut out of that want category, giving you more than that 20% in the repayment or the savings category, meaning that you could step it up a little bit further. What can you cut and what can you kind of manipulate in the budget in there to make it work and make it realistically work, guys. I don't want you to go in with the budgeting method, just kind of scrap it after a month or two, because there's no way you can fit everything you want or everything you need into your budget. You have to make it work. If you make X amount of dollars, you have to spend less than that. That is really the basics of budgeting. If you're running in the red every single month, the money is going to run out, which with the cash system or the envelope system, that is exactly what it is. You take cash out, you put it in envelopes, it is earmarked for, your shopping trips, your groceries, your gas. Once the money is gone, the money is gone. That is it. Once the cash has been exhausted, once it is spent, you're either borrowing from another envelope or that envelope remains empty until you do replace those. Now, of course, with this, we get into the emergency fund. You have to have an emergency fund. It is a priority number one. If you are not having, and if you do not have an emergency fund, you are going to go right back to debt, and you are always going to go right back to debt. And I hate seeing it where, again, people are kind of working very hard to pay off debt. They're working to pay off debt. They're putting, $300, $500, $800 extra towards this debt every single month. Something happens in life, boom, they go back to putting another $1,000 on that credit card, meaning the debt cycle just continues because they didn't properly manage and plan for the emergency fund before they went full tilt, really going in there and paying off and paying down that debt, because that's what they were relying on to actually fund that emergency fund. You have to make sure, again, that emergency fund is done. And the final one in here, guys, managing your emotions. Having debt, living debt free is really it's not so much a moral issue if you're a bad person, if you have a bunch of debt, if you're a great person, if you have no debt. It is really the ability and giving you the empowerment, and that is what I hope I do with this channel, is giving you the power and the tools that are needed to be completely debt free. And again, a lot of it is kind of the mental mindset and the shift of what do you really need to survive when it comes to, purchase items, when it comes to driving expensive cars, when it comes to designer clothing. What do you really need and what do you really want out of life? For a majority of us, it is not things. It is not the physical things. It's more about the family, the experiences, the future that we're really planning for, rather than today and everything that we're spending really frivolously that we really don't need. Looking at $1 billion plus, or excuse me, $1 trillion plus in credit card debt as a nation is kind of insane to me to see that we have gotten to this point. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.